And this is Starmer massively on the back foot. You know, his party is currently literally behind Reform in the polls, despite his enormous majority in the House of Commons. He's panicking, and they've rustled up this pathetic stunt. Well, taxpayers are not going to be deceived by this, are they? You know, taxpayers are entitled to be absolutely bloody furious that once again their intelligence is being insulted and their hard-earned cash is being squandered arranging exclusive private jet travel for Albanians who, you know, let's be frank,
have broken the law. Have broken the law.
They've broken the law, and what are they getting? 4 seats each or something on the private.
Isabel Oakeshott just launched a full-on verbal strike at Keir Starmer, and it was far from a calm political chat. This wasn't mild feedback. It was a series of sharp, direct blows that left Starmer visibly rattled. If you think politics is usually boring, this moment will completely flip that idea. You'll laugh. You'll react, and you'll probably ask yourself, did she actually say that out loud? Stick with me. This clash has more kick than your strongest cup of coffee.
It isn't because the man is stupid, it's because, and this is a theme I keep returning to, he lacks judgment. And that is so important for somebody at the top of politics. If you don't have the right judgment, you're not going to last long. So you ask the question, how does he get this off the front pages? Here's what I'm going to say about that. This is not going to go away until he reveals his secret.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know exactly what his secret is, but he sure as hell has got one or more secrets, and they relate in some way to Lord Ali and to his family.
Keir Starmer stepped into British politics looking like a man who believed a tidy spreadsheet and a warm cup of tea could inspire a national movement. Somehow, he turned the position of leader of the opposition into something as exciting as a long talk on tax codes. If charisma were cash, Starmer would be outside Westminster asking for loose change. Then Isabel Oakeshott arrived, known for her blunt style, bold statements, and complete lack of hesitation. If Starmer expected another slow, forgettable press moment, Isabel showed up with sharp jabs, strong confidence, and a teardown that left no room for polite silence.
He made light of it. He then did the rest of the speech without his jacket on, which is probably a better look for him anyway.
He had less glitter on it, didn't he, basically?
I mean, anyone who puts a shine on Keir Starmer, there will be people who are actually grateful for a little bit of gloss on Keir Starmer, because he's very boring, generally comes across very uncharismatic, doesn't he? But I think the point here is that should never have been allowed to happen. It could have been, as you say, something much more dangerous than glitter. And, you know, the assailant in that case actually did manhandle the leader of the opposition.
Her first strike landed with real force. Isabel opened by calling out something everyone notices. Keir Starmer speaks like he's reading a slow-moving documentary script. His tone has the energy of a lonely sock no one bothered to pick up. She said exactly what many think. He's become political background noise. Starmer doesn't just talk in a dull way. He somehow drains all excitement from everything around him. If there were an award for turning enthusiasm into dust, Keir Starmer would walk away with it twice.
Right there, because which of us has any confidence in our border authorities to be checking who's coming in and out, who's overstaying? I mean, this is a complete nonsense. It will rely heavily on people voluntarily returning when their visas run out. I have no confidence whatsoever that this will be properly regulated, that the limits on it will be properly enforced. So what Starmer may well have done is open the doors to a whole other wave of immigration, and that is so politically dangerous for him. I mean, setting aside what it means for the country, it's really politically dangerous.
But she didn't stop there. Isabel went straight for his constant flip-flopping on issues. In her view, Starmer is so uncertain about his own positions that he makes Hamlet seem decisive. On Brexit, he was firmly Remain until he realised he needed votes north of Watford. On gender reform, one day he backs self-ID, and the next he's struggling to define the basics like someone with weak Wi-Fi. According to her, the man switches positions more often than Boris Johnson changes the number of children he publicly acknowledges.
Disintegrate really, really quickly. I thought that he was pretty weak once again. You know, each time he comes on, I'm afraid I see nothing that particularly impresses me. And trust me, I'd quite like to be impressed. You know, I'm not really wanting to listen. My bandwidth for the Tories is as probably minimal as most of the nation's after 14 years. I thought Keir Starmer was really on the back.
Oakeshott hit this point even harder. She said Starmer's political direction spins around like a broken weather vane in a heavy storm. One moment he talks about a strong future, and the next he retreats from his own commitments faster than a banker dodging risks in 2008. If he ever had solid principles, they're now buried deep, right beside whatever backbone the Labour Party once claimed to have. Then she delivered her biggest blow: Starmer's image as a man of the people. Isabel argued that his attempts to seem connected to working-class Britain are about as convincing as walking past a Greggs without even noticing it. He tries so hard to look relatable that he once held a pint like it was an unfamiliar object. She compared him to a confused robot standing in a football pub. And honestly, it fits. Watching Keir try to appear regular is like watching Elon Musk try to blend in at a Wetherspoons. She even mentioned his title, Sir Keir Starmer, because nothing says, "I'm just like everyone else," quite like being knighted and then pretending you fully understand everyday struggles. Isabel joked that he wears that title like a cheap plastic crown from a children's party. Shiny on the outside, but completely meaningless. The only sword he's ever pulled from a stone is a symbolic one buried deep inside stacks of legal documents.
But we don't like Rishi's chairs. Can we change them? £28,643 on new chairs and new desks, furniture. That's outrageous, isn't it?
I mean, these buildings are actually really small. You know, when you go into them, you would be struck by just how small they are. So there isn't actually room for that many chairs and desks. So I'm intrigued to know how many were purchased for these colossal sums. But it's very symbolic of the whole attitude to waste of taxpayers' money, isn't it? It's public money, your money, my money, all of our listeners' money. Yeah. And if you can't get a good deal on your home furniture, then what possible hope have you got a good deal of running the country and all the major things that you need to procure? You know, this should be the easiest task, you know, and I'm pretty sure Habitat would have done.
Yeah. I don't think they needed to do it.
But don't worry, Starmer insists he does have a plan. He's been slowly piecing together a personality, one cautious press statement at a time. The problem? Isabel Oakeshott wasn't convinced for even a second. She joked that if Keir's personality were any more manufactured, it would need a barcode on the side. His speeches are so smoothed out and over-prepared that they could easily pass for NHS baby food. And the delivery doesn't help either. He sounds like a substitute teacher forced to read a student's poem about damp walls. Steady, controlled, but painfully lifeless. Then she turned toward the economy. Get ready! Starmer claims Labour will now be fiscally responsible, something Isabel found unintentionally funny. Like watching someone promise to juggle fire while blindfolded and wearing oven mitts. She highlighted the irony of a man who criticises Tory austerity while planning nearly the same spending squeeze himself. She called it austerity with clearer pronunciation. Starmer wants to come across as serious, trustworthy, and highly capable. The calm pair of hands the country needs. And yes, compared to the chaos of recent Conservative governments, he can look like a quiet librarian just trying to maintain order. But Isabel cut right through that comparison. She said, being slightly less chaotic than a Tory backbencher isn't a real plan. It's just a very low bar someone slides under while dodging accountability.